Good evening and welcome to Live to Be Well. I'm Dr. Kim and welcome to another amazing broadcast. Listen, tell a friend, let someone know that Live to Be Well is on the air. We're with you every other week, twice a month, bringing you quality programs about families, relationships, issues that's going on in our government, and we're able to talk about them with you and be able to give sound advice and hopefully bring good solutions, techniques, and treatment plans incorporated with the counseling that I give. I am a native Detroiter, and I'm so proud to be a native Detroiter. People say, "Are you from Detroit?" You will hear them say, "What up, doe?" And you say to yourself, what is what up, doe? Well, let me tell you what's happening. How are you? What's going on? But in the community that I grew up in, that was called, we have a term and we had to really fight against that term. And people would say, is that slang? What is that they're using? We don't even understand what they're saying. So, what is a what up dope? And when you hear people say they are from Detroit, the first thing you will hear, or one of the first things you will hear, is what up dope? So, tonight we're going to talk about literacy and what that is and what it means in our society today. We have a special guest and we're going to be bringing her on shortly. But I want to read to you, why is literacy so important? What was it that was done when I was a child to help me learn to read? Now, let me tell you a little background story. I had some issues in my language and learning ability. I was classified as learning disabled in the fifth, sixth grade, and I was also receiving speech therapy. I stuttered, I had a lisp, and I had other issues going on. So it also interfered with my ability to read and comprehend. See, there are people who can read, but do they comprehend what they are reading? Can they go back and really give it in an exam? A lot of people have what is called anxiety and stress when they are taking exams, test taking skills, and they're not able to take what they have read, comprehended, and then pass an exam. Or they just have such anxiety and panic attacks when they're taking exams. Do you know anyone like that in your family or a classmate? But it can be treated, it can be dealt with. So when I was in school, I wasn't able to comprehend certain language skills. And it impacted my ability to communicate because I did have several speech impediments. But at the same time, I was able to utilize other skills to help me to learn. My mother was very focused and determined to help us speak well and to be articulate and to make sure we were able to pronounce our words. It was quite interesting when I was growing up. My mother would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. But when she got to that cluster of tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 19, 20. Because you will hear people say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And my mother said, show me TWENDY, 20, 30. But you may say, well, Dr. Kim, in everyday conversation, people are not going to use that type of language skill. But why not? Why aren't we using those type of language skills? Why are we not working on our vocabulary? Why are we not preparing our children to be able to pass the ACT and the SATs or to be able to get into a journeyman's program? I talked to a gentleman who's in a Chrysler journeyman's program, and he said he is having problems because he did not learn the literacy that he needed to learn how to read and write when he was in middle school and high school. He's been working at Chrysler for the last 20 years. He wants to advance now, but he can't because he cannot read effectively. So they suggested to him that he take some tutoring classes to prepare to take these courses. So it's impacting white collar workers and blue collar workers. So let's talk about literacy and what it means, okay? Literacy in education is the foundation for all other academics, knowledge, and skills. Learning to read with comprehension and write effectively opens the doors to share knowledge and understanding, communication, and critical thinking. This broader view influences our perception of our world and how it impacts us. We need to be able to read. Now we've gotten to a point, my viewers, that we have everything is audible books, audible this, audible that. And we've gotten away from reading. We've gotten away from reading the newspaper. You know, it was a time we used to read Jet Magazine. How many of you remember Jet Magazine? We used to read all types of books. Insight. How many of you remember Insight? The Reader's Digest. I know I'm aging myself, but we would love to read the stories in Reader's Digest. And they would have all these different pictures in the Reader's Digest, and you have to find the missing picture, or where is the giraffe? Where is the bear? We had to search those pictures out. And it helped us to, with retention, comprehension, and being able to take those words. I remember my mom would give me a word, affable. And she said, use it in a sentence. And when we were in the spelling bee, how many of you won the spelling bees back in school? And we would ask, can you use it in a sentence? You are such an affable individual. Can you give me another sentence? Your personality is so affable. Well, affable means likable. But likable is not going to be on the SAT and the ACT and the GRE, the graduate exam. Affable is going to be on the exam. Pensive is going to be on the exam. What is pensive? A person who is quiet. You know, when you think about tumultuous, what is tumultuous? If I saw that in a sentence, this is a tumultuous relationship that these individuals are in. You know, toxic, bad, negative. But again, you're not going to see that word negative or bad on the exam. You're going to see tumultuous. So we need to get back to literacy, get back to reading. I'm finding myself now every evening reading something. And in the morning, I'm telling you, I read the greatest book ever, the Bible. And some of those words, and in my Sabbath school lesson, and when I'm reading my books, you better have a dictionary. And I have no shame in having my dictionary, my thesaurus right nearby, because I want to advance so that I can communicate effectively. But not only that, I'm a book author. I write books. And I'm also an individual, being a clinical psychologist, a licensed professional therapist. I have to write reports. I have to write medical reports for short-term disability. I have to write reports for FMLA leave. I have to write reports for government. I have to write reports for court and lawsuits. And I have to know what I'm doing. And I have to know my punctuation. And so, you know, and they don't know me, but they will judge me by the quality of the work. And I remember I turned in about 2 years worth of medical records. And the people called me and they said to me, and they even sent me a letter, these are the best typed notes we have ever received. I called my daughter Micha and shared that with her. And I was so proud, because it takes a lot of work to put into making sure that you're representing your business, you're representing yourself. And I'm representing my parents, especially my mother, because my mother instilled in us, all of us, how to communicate, how to read. And she was a reader. My mother would read everything, and she would share that information. So we're going to get into all of this and why is literacy so important and what's happening today to our children. Is it because of economics? Is it because of, you know, the lack of parenting? It was a time we were in a 2-parent home and the mother stayed home. And now we have both parents working. Who's helping the children with the homework? What is going on where our children are not learning to read and is impacting our society? Today I went to vote and I had to read that ballot. I had to check it off. And I was proud to be able to say I could read it. So let's talk about literacy. Let a friend know that Live Be Well is on the air, and we're about to bring in my co-host, my beautiful daughter, Micha ML6. How you doing, Micha?
Greetings.
Greetings, my beautiful baby. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Want to say happy birthday to you again. This is still your birthday month. Did you have a great birthday?
I did. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Yeah. Yes, it was wonderful. I experienced it with you, you know.
it. I know every year.
Every year. And 944, I'm like, oh, I'm giving birth. Amen. So listen, Micah, we're gonna hello budget. All right. Hello. Hello. Welcome, Tisa, all the way from Pennsylvania. Sister Tisa. Had the privilege of being with her at her church. Amen. So, Micah, you are a journalist. You earned your college degree and communication. Why and how does literacy impact you today?
I can't right now. So I'm going to take it from a different perspective because I do have a degree in
Okay.
communications and journalism. So
Okay.
what we're seeing is we're seeing the influx of social media, and what we're seeing is how everything is quick. We are really living in a microwave generation.
Oh,
You want the news quick, you want information quick, everything has to be quick. We even shorten our words to make it quick. To the point where some people will, once it was just you would spell okay, okay, then it was okay, now it's just K. Everything is just short and quick and a hurry. What's also an issue within this world is the fact that people don't want to read past the headline, and the headlines can be misleading. And what they're doing is
mm-hmm,
they're creating captions and headlines
mm-hmm,
to create clickbait for you to get angry, upset, to write on and do all the things, knowing that people aren't going to read more,
mm-hmm,
knowing that people aren't going to read that, even those paragraphs that are underneath. They just know that people are going to read the caption. Case in
mm.
point, there was a blog site that posted about a woman who was 36 years old that was upset that she has to take care of three of her grandchildren. The comments went crazy. Not only did they not look further, they also didn't watch the entire video. At the end of the video, she's showing her little girl with three dolls. The grandchildren were three baby dolls. And it basically was a test to see. I said, people don't read. People don't read and they don't watch things all the way through because all they're doing is looking at a caption, making a judgment and an assessment. And they're
Mm.
not reading further. And this is how they're getting it, especially within our community. And it's really important, and I cannot stress this enough. We have a major election coming up, a
Yes, we do.
major election. This is not the time to take word of mouth. This is the time to really figure it out and understand for yourself. Because as much as this is the information age, it's also a misinformation age. And they bank on people just taking the bait, taking
Mm.
the bait. And this comes because people are not reading,
And
they're not writing correctly. It's almost like, why am I having to figure out a puzzle of what you're saying? What is happening right now? And I want to, as I segue into bringing in our guests, because this is really important. Because in schools, what I've heard and seen even throughout social media is a lot of times when students are writing papers, when they're turning in assignments, they are writing as if they're sending a text message to their friends.
yes, yes.
I could not even handle if I was an educator because I can't even imagine how frustrating that is. And coming to the platform
Mm.
is a very, very dear, close friend of mine. We're more like sisters. We probably talk every single day. We've known each other since we were 5, 6 years old. Literally spent half every day together, half the week at her house. She is an amazing educator, high school, college. She's an author. She's a screenplay writer. She is an amazing she's an actress. She's an MC. She does all the things. And her name is Malissa Martin. And I want to welcome her to this platform
Yes.
to really talk to us about what's happening within our education system and how important is it
Yeah.
for people to read past the caption.
Well, first off, hello. Good
Hello.
evening. Good
Hello,
evening.
Melissa. Welcome.
Hello. Well, first off, at the end of the day, no matter what, reading single-handedly changes lives. I
Mm-hmm.
always believe that, and I tell my students that. And I think two of you said something very important already. First, Sister Nolan, you talked about your mother and the importance of her stressing certain things. My mother stressed certain things as well,
Yes,
which is part of that continuation of learning after school,
that's
which I
right.
think is one thing that has kind of have to drop off. Um, Micha, I'm going to agree and then disagree with you
Okay.
about not about the captions. People, you got to read the captions. That's first and foremost. But technology was not offered to us at our fingertips the way it is to them. And when it started to be, started to snowball more, we were already kind of getting out of that education system, if not already. And so we looked at it like, man, I would have used this. And we started immediately using those tools because we know what it was like not to have those tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I say I kind of don't agree because these kids don't understand life without those tools. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the when we had a report, what do? It's encyclopedia,
Dictionary.
dictionary, you
Encyclopedia.
ask around, you find hopefully somebody can take you to the library, you can get some books, but you had to read to get that paper.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays kids, they can start a paper and finish a paper from their bed,
Mm-hmm.
beginning to end. So I think it's education is in a very, I say, fragile state overall. Not just my school. I'm not talking about my school. I've worked at other schools, not just my school. Overall, I think education is in a very fragile state.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Okay.
you think do you think that students are taking education as serious as they should? Or do you feel like if they had a choice to either not be in school or be in school, do you feel majority would pick not go to school every day?
Yes, they're kids, but kids, to answer your first part of the question, kids will take education as seriously as their parents make them take it.
Mm-hmm.
I took education very serious because
Very
my
serious.
dad took it very serious.
Yes.
Same.
So if I could come home, my parents don't ask me how my day was. Don't ask me if I have any homework. Don't ask me about parent teacher conference. Don't come up to the school. Not only are they not coming to my academics to support, but they're not coming to sports events or other groups or social groups I might be involved in. Why would I take this serious? Who cares? Give me a D. What's my mom gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I think it depends on how serious the parent makes them take it. Remember, these are kids.
Yeah.
They look like us, they smell like us, but they're kids.
Mm-hmm. You know, let,
They're
let me
kids.
let me say this. You know, people say that the dysfunction of the family, two-parent home or one-parent home. My parents were divorced when I was 12, but my mother continued to really specify and insist that we, did our homework, we did our chores, and my dad would come over every day to make sure those things were in order. They were still a team, okay, and so that we didn't fall between the cracks. But let me tell you something. When I went off to boarding school and I did fine in my Bible class, English class, and when I had to put a paragraph together, I was good. They were surprised because I was African
Mm,
American
mm,
and my math skills. But the one thing that really shocked them, I won the motivational speaking contest as I should. All right.
as you should.
2
Period.
years in a row, my junior and senior year.
Yes.
Yes. And I was able to utilize the things that I learned as I wrote those papers. And I had to present that speech to those teachers
Mm,
so that they could understand where I was coming from. And one of my speeches was, be master of all your habits or they will master you.
Mm.
And so that's a play, Melissa. So, so what I'm saying is, even though my mom and dad were divorced and people blaming on the fact that, oh, you got two parents in your household. My mother, like Mrs. Obama, President Obama's mother, one parent can still make a difference in a child's life. Let's talk about that.
I absolutely agree. There
Reason.
are some of my students that have one parent homes and they're excelling. And then you have students that are at two parent homes and they're struggling. It doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter the situation, as long as there's someone pushing and guiding them along. Because I've seen situations where there's an older sibling that's
Yeah.
more studious than the rest. But if he's sitting down doing his homework at the kitchen table after school and they're like, well, he's doing it, so all right, I guess I'll sit here. After a while, it becomes routine.
That's right.
He's like, all right, we're going to do this first, and then we're going to do something else because he knows that they're watching him. So I think it again, it depends on who is willing to roll up their sleeves,
That's right.
sit down with this child, and help them.
That's right.
Because
That's
literacy is everything. If you can't read and you can't write, your life will be a struggle.
right.
And I say that sounds harsh, but I say that nicely. It
Yes.
will be a struggle. Think of this, and then it's when I was learning a literacy program at a job I used to work for. They taught us how to basically teach people how to read.
Yes.
And the last day they had a student come, and this guy had to be about 23, 22, 23. He wasn't too old. He just graduated from high school not too soon before, and he could not read.
Couldn't read.
He couldn't read. And he realized that he was stuck at a job. He worked at like a food, one of these food market, the vegetable places. He couldn't even read the signs on the boxes to unpack them, which was his job. That's the level I want you to understand of how important it is to read. Like he can't read bananas, apples. So he said what saved him was a few things. One, pictures, because in the industry like that, sometimes they do use pictures depending on the way they wrap it. Two, memory. If he sees this box or this number, he's like, okay, I think that's more so this. Third, he said, which was his last option, was asking someone.
Asking.
You continuously asking someone is like,
that's a red flag. That's a red flag.
It's a red flag.
Right.
So reading is key. Stop signs.
Right.
Sale signs.
Everything. I remember taking Micha to the DTE. I took her to the Michigan Bell. Back in the day, Michigan Bell. And Micha had to go up and she had to present the phone bill, but she could read the phone bill. Then we took her to the store. We took her to this place, that place. And we used to play this game when we would drive. Tell me what you see or what color you see or what things you see. And I was even then testing her reading and her ability. But I had a man in the store. I'll never forget it. He was wandering around. And I went back and I said, do you need some help? No one stopped to see that this man needed help. He couldn't read. I said, what are you looking for? He gave me the list that his mother gave him. And I went and I helped him get every item. Then I went on my phone and found a literacy program for him to learn to read. He sat there and he cried. I said, can you count the money? He said, my mother gave me a debit card. I said, okay. He said, but I can't count money. He can't count money. So you are right, Melissa, that every aspect of being able to read impacts our lives. And go back, like we were saying, you got to sign your name. These kids today, these children cannot sign their names. You got to sign for your home. You got to sign for a loan, a car, a grant, whatever it is, you got to sign, for it. But they're not teaching handwriting. And I told someone today, sit down with your child and see if they can write their name. See if they can write a sentence. Don't worry about a paragraph. Can they put a sentence together? So let's talk about some of the things that we see in society today that's impacting literacy today. All right. What do we see going on today?
Well, before we do that, I do have a question for Melissa. Melissa,
Okay.
where do you see the education system in the next 5 to 10 years?
Good question. Good question.
Good question. I see more online schools, definitely more online schools, which is good and bad. I know some people are like, I hate online schools. I'm torn. I'm an open person, right? I try to see both sides. I have seen students go online and progress.
They progress.
Progress. Like the class was holding I'm sorry, sis, we were holding you back. Let us move out your way. And then I see kids go online and it's like, sir, why you waste our time? Now we got to get you caught up to where you were. So I think online schools are definitely going to, and online schools have flourished within like the past 15 years. If you think we started with one or two, it is dozens of online schools. So I think
Higher
online schools
education.
will continue. Higher education.
Yeah.
I don't know about, I mean, attendance is so shaky at schools. Attendance is so shaky, and truancy officers, I mean, after COVID, it's like, where do they live? Who is it?
Wow.
This phone is disconnected. So truancy officers are some struggling. I mean, besides online schools, attendance, I would say those are 2 and 3, but I would say definitely number 1, if parents don't make their kids, or instill, let me not say make, instill, because that's a better word.
Yeah.
Instill in their kids the importance of education and how far it can take you. They're going to drop out. Drop out, or do the famous education system and just say, okay, well, next grade, I tried.
You tried.
What is happening where and Mom, I haven't forgot your question, but what is happening about where it seems as if they're just passing children along from grade to grade just to kind of be done with them. Like we've done all they can do. And I'm talking from first through. So by the time they get to high school, it's like, how did you make it here? So can you kind of give us some background on that? Because this is like, because I remember first, second, third, fourth, fifth, it was a challenge. You know what I'm saying? Like we had to learn the 8 parts of speech. We had to learn all these things, whether we use them now or not. It was, we needed to learn them. Understanding that the English language is in fact the hardest language to learn, and but we had to learn it, and we had to put the pronouns and all the things, adjectives and adverbs and all the nouns and all the stuff. And we would be like, you see what I'm saying? But it just seems like
no,
now,
my favorites. You were talking about my favorites now.
I'm talking about your favorites.
I got to interrupt you. Micha, Melissa, did you know what launched Kim Logan Communications?
No.
I went to a board meeting with Dr. Jefferson at the Detroit Public Schools. And he said, you're going to have to come very creative to meet with all these superintendents. And the teachers were there, principals were there. I got to the mic and I asked one question. I said, who can tell me the 8 parts of speech? No one stood up in that audience. And I said simple. I did like this: noun, pronoun. I said adverb. I said verb, adjective. I said the 3 shuns. Yes, I did. Conjunction, interjection, and project and preposition. And they looked at me and said, give her the contract. I picked up 30 schools and started Kim Logan Communication Motivational and Speech Program, helping the teachers have a relief moment. I would relieve them in school, come in and teach, and they would give me, and they paid me to come in, and I wrote my proposal. I had to write my proposal, and my mother reviewed that proposal. And I took that proposal into the Detroit Public Schools and met with Dr. Jean-Marie, the area A, B, C, and D, Renaissance, Dr. Beverly Gray. I met with these great principals and they signed my contract. And that's how I built my company, on teaching literacy, teaching people how to speak and teaching those kids how to read. Yes.
Yeah.
But what's happening now, Liz, where they're not, what's happening with the jump? Like, passing through, are teachers frustrated? Do they feel like it's more work than it's willing to give the child that's even trying to learn? Like what's missing between first grade, ninth grade to just, you know what, we're just done. Just go ahead and get out of here and graduate. Like
Move you
what's
along.
happening? Where is the disconnect
Right.
with the learning process? Because we're seeing it more often than not. And
Yes.
I understand the weight is heavy for teachers right now. I do understand that. Like it's hard when you're dealing with, as you made a very good point, students who have everything literally at the tip of their fingers. They feel like they're coming in knowing more than you do because all they got to do is go to Google, type something in, or go to TikTok. Because I mean, I'll be honest, I've learned a lot about just basic everyday life. Like we live like really hard with just even with like the paper towel holders. You know what I'm saying? Like who knew that they could do that? Or the ice tray. Like the ice tray is supposed to sit on the corner. Like things like that. If they're going to TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram and everything, wherever they're going for everything, I know that can be frustrating for teachers. But I'm just saying, like, at what a teacher at from first, second, third, fourth, fifth, when those are the fundamentals of teaching the basics. At what point do they say, yeah, you know what? I'd rather just sit here and play solitaire because they're not listening to me no way. I'm gonna just pass them along. How did we get there? Was it like this before the pandemic and we just weren't aware and then we realized it after the pandemic? Like where has the disconnect come from? If you can answer.
I hope I can answer. I don't think you were implying it, but just to clarify, I'm sure there are people who do, but I don't think majority of teachers pass them just to get them on. I'm not saying all.
Oh no, I wasn't. No disrespect.
I know. Okay,
no,
so
no
good. Okay,
disrespect.
so just
None.
clarify.
Zero. Yeah.
We all know that learning starts where?
At home.
At home.
At home. At home. In these early childhood centers that have closed, that will start you on your colors and your numbers. So they're already behind by the time they enter first grade. What do you mean, Red? I thought we was watching videos. It's nap time. Where's my popsicle? You know. So by the time they come to first grade, they're already behind. There is a third grade test that all students have to pass in order to that, to know that you're on grade level and you can successfully move to the fourth grade. If they keep students that cannot pass it, but how long are they going to keep you in the third grade? You can't be a certain age. You have to remember this. You can't be a certain age in a certain building. I've had it at my high school where a student has aged out. Like, you can't come in here anymore. Some ninth graders are 14.
No.
When their birthday falls, their birthday might be, they might be 14, 15. You can't come in here anymore. You have to go to an alternative program. That middle school age, when you're in elementary, school can be fun for a good number, even if it's problems at home. That's why I believe elementary teachers are doing the real Lord's work because they're the boots on the ground. I teach high school, and 11th to 12th grade at that. But when you come to school and you're in that classroom, that's a world. It's still learning going on, but it's a whole world for them. And once they graduate from that, and that world becomes less cozy, if you will, with the maths, with the numbers and the colors and things all on the walls, and your teachers, your picture and all your classmates' pictures and birthday. Once that room starts to become more and more uncomfortable, and real learning is taking place, two things can happen. Either you don't know how to do it and you just kind of struggle and nobody's helping you, or you don't know how to do it and somebody is helping you. I think that this is why parent involvement is so important, because once you hit that 5th, 6th grade, that's when it becomes, to me, that's when it gets more complicated. 5th grade is the beginning. That's like a sound off. That's when you need to start making it a routine, so that at 6th grade, when they come home and say, "Ooh, girl, I got some homework for us. Go ahead, sit down at that kitchen table. You won't believe what our teacher gave us." So I think elementary, it has to start at home. If it doesn't, they're already a grade behind. That 5th, 6th grade transition introduces a whole different visual, and they lose that comfort zone. 8th grade, it's more so, I would say 7th and 8th grade, they know what's coming. They're excited for what's coming. And you also have to look at the the social ladder of it, right? Because who's the big dog? The 7th and 8th grader. So they're in their mind, they're the most, they're the most popular, they're the most powerful. So they kind of, play off a little bit. But again, that's up to the parent to say, hey, where's your homework? What's going on? No, I'm coming to the school. By the time they reach 9th grade, I always say that is a 9th grade year is a transition year.
Yes,
And I
yes.
say that because I think for 9th grade year, and I also think freshman year for college students, I call them transition years, especially for high schoolers, because there's such a vast difference between middle school and high school, especially the visuals, right? So let's start there. You're used to possibly maybe this one hallway, maybe 5 or 6 classes. Maybe there's an upstairs. Maybe you go to 5 or 6 different classrooms, but for the most part, you're going to the same places, right? When you come to high school, it's huge. It's huge. You're going to have a different class everywhere, and you're going to have to get there one time. Also, that transition of going from, like I said, that social ladder, going from the big dogs back down to the littlest fish. You're bait. You're the littlest fish. You're no longer the big dogs in the building. That can be hard too. Also, it's a whole different brand of teachers. Once you've been somewhere for a while, your teacher can learn you like, okay, I know they're writing. They understand this. I don't have to read this whole 5-page essay or whatnot. You have to introduce who you are academically to your teachers, and then that's, I hate to say, but that's stuck on you until you prove otherwise to me.
Right.
Yeah.
So those 3 are big transitions, but that's not even introducing things of getting friends,
Right.
figuring out who you are figuring out who you are as an individual, figuring out how do you fit in at this school, finding your social circle. Kids do that. Once they got their friends, they're like, all right, we here. What are we doing, Miss Martin? That's usually how it is, because if I don't have anybody to sit in class with, I'm not paying attention. I gotta keep my head down so nobody notices me. I don't want any attention. I don't want any eyes. Let me just shh. This class is over.
Do you still think college is important? Is college still important for juniors, sophomores, juniors, and seniors?
It depends on what industry you want to go into.
Just
I don't force
Is it
college
talked about
on
a
my
lot?
students. I talk
is it
about it all
talked
the
about?
time.
Okay.
I talk about it all the time. I talk about it all the time because I specifically teach 11th and 12th grade English. So I call myself like the end of the line. I tell them I'm practiced for next year when you're a real adult. When you're a real adult. I think they say you're not a real adult. You're not a real adult. I'm practiced for next year. But I do tell my students college does not guarantee success. The difference, and this is exactly what I tell them, the difference between someone going to college and someone not going to college are roads, 2 different roads, right? When you say you're going to college, you go to a road and there's a man standing there. He says, hey, what do you want to do? And you say, I want to be a doctor. He's going to say, okay, follow that blue path all the way down. It's going to take you straight there. And you say, okay, you don't think twice. It's the blue path. I can focus on this path. It is. When you don't go to college, there's a road, but there's nobody there. That's up to you to ask yourself, what do I want to do? Okay, I want to be an engineer. No, not an engineer. Somebody out of college. Okay, I want to be a hairstylist. How do I get there? You have to figure that out. That's the only difference between college, somebody going to college, and somebody not going to college. Going to college is saying, here, this is exactly how you do it. Boom, read it, learn. Somebody not going to college is more so you have to learn yourself. But I do not push college on my students. Absolutely. Absolutely not. And especially it's so much. It's so much. And they don't, and some of them don't want to, and their parents want them to.
They want them to.
And academically, I know why they don't want to.
Okay.
Why they don't want to. And then you have students who want to, but academically, and then you have this too. Like I said, that 9th grade year's transition. 10th grade, they kind of come out of it like, woof. All right, what are we doing? 11th grade is like, I'm about to graduate. So what do I got to do? Because I got to be ready for prom. You know what I mean? And then 12th grade is like, all right, how many classes I got to make up? That's how it can go. So it's a process. So by the time you get to, let's say, the end of your junior year, and you're like, why is my I got a high GPA. I was in class all semester. Why is my cumulative GPA a 2.9? Sis, freshman and sophomore year still exists.
That's right.
And they can't bring it quite up to the place that they need to in order
Yes.
to do the
Yeah.
things that they need to do.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, I remember when I would go to the homes and visit my students, and when I was doing student teaching, and one little girl would come in and she would be hungry. Now, that's one thing I did appreciate about the schools offering food, breakfast, Head Start programs. And she said to me, Miss Logan, how can I worry about writing this paper and I didn't have anything to eat today?
Mm-hmm.
So we're dealing with children who are impoverished, people who are not, they don't have medical insurance, dental care. I've got a toothache and nothing I can do about it. So the last thing I want to do, and even coming to school gives me some type of relief because my mother or my father are arguing, fighting, or on drugs, or my dad's alcoholic, or I never see my parents. Because it's not just in the Black community. We have issues in the Hispanic community, the Arabic community, Asian community. You know, we have it in the European American community. It's problems
Mm-hmm.
across the board. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have to also look at the family origin of what's going on with our children and what burdens they have when they come to school. And
Right.
so that we can, I posted yesterday, don't judge a person because you don't know their story. And I would take the time to get to know my students. Now, when I taught at Wayne County Community College, I would notice different patterns of writing. And when I would get them up, I'm teaching speech 101, 201, 205. And they would get, and I said, you have 15 minutes to write me a paragraph and present it. And they couldn't do it. And if I had one or two students, and I said, all right, at least we know where we got to start. And I said, by the time you finish my class, you're going to be able to use APA and MLA. They were like, what is that? You know, and I had a student, I never forget, she was shy, didn't want to get up. And I made her get up and she cried. And I tore up her paper. I said, rewrite it again, do it again, do it again. And she did it again and again. I have to say today, this young lady finished her associate at Wayne County Community College, transferred to the University of Texas, and went on and got her master's at Georgetown University
Oh, wow.
in communication.
Oh, yeah, she should.
As she did. Now she has been a BET representative. She follows Micha, and she's everywhere doing this, organizing this. But she said, Dr. Kim, I thank you for helping me to become an A student because I knew she could do it. And every time I respond to her on Facebook or wherever, I said, I love you, my A student, because she went all the way and she learned to read and write. And she brought some skills to the table, but it went all the way. And she said, I want to thank you for teaching me APA because she had to write that master's thesis in the APA. Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
But Melissa,
Mm-hmm.
even as you go throughout the day, you notice the students that are engaged, and you notice the ones that aren't engaged. And I remember a conversation we had just recently, and you were saying how the ones that are engaged, they get it, and those are the ones that you connect with. Now the ones that and let me tell everyone, Melissa's an amazing teacher. She's an amazing teacher. She has amazing stories about the things that happen. But what I've noticed is that you are very balanced, and even the ones that may not necessarily get it, you'll be like, now come on now. You know what I'm saying? Like, did you really think? All
Yeah.
right, Miss Martin. All right, you right, Miss
Right.
Martin. You know
Right.
good and well I wasn't gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it seems like sometimes, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like sometimes a lot of these kids just want to, where we know that it starts in the home, they may not get it at the home. So then they come to school and they feel like, okay, I can act out. But when in all actuality, they just want somebody to care about them.
Right.
So have you experienced that as a teacher where you notice like, okay, there's something here, but then once you show that you actually care about their future, then you've seen a turnaround in their behavior and how they respond to education. Have you experienced that?
Absolutely. I believe all first teachers have, because the first year of teaching high school, I teach college and high school, and I noticed the difference. The first year of teaching high school, they don't learn. And not because you're not teaching, it's like you have to go through it. You got hired with administration. Now you have to get hired with the students. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. Oh, yeah.
So they have to learn you. They have to believe that you know what you're doing. Can you do this work that you're assigning us? Which isn't offensive to me. Absolutely, I can do it. That's why I can teach.
Right.
Third, you have to get to know them so that you can discipline them. If you come out automatically just barking at them, they will not like you. They will not like you. And that kind of, I think, answers your question, Sister Nolan, about teaching the whole child. I had to get to know my students my entire first year. I got there October 13th, 2018. Lord, I'm still waiting on, that's our business, but you know what I'm talking about. But it took from October until the following September when I got back, because it was like my school year was like this. Wow. We were all like this. I remember when school got out, I just got out of there. Like I literally got out of there. I wouldn't even drive in that area just because you have to get to know them. It can't be initially you want it to be serious, but it can't be serious because they have to get to know you. How am I gonna get to know you if you're just always barking at me? Sit down, get a pencil. Don't do that. Get off your cell phone. Why aren't you working? You can't bark at them. So my full first year was getting to know them. When you get to know students, you can get to know them more, because now that I know you and you know me, now you'll start listening to what I say. So some students that will automatically, just because either they're afraid of authority, maybe they heard something about me from the other students, or their parents trained them, it's an adult, respect them. But once we're all like, okay, we're all cool, let's do this worksheet, kind of see how it goes. Those students who are, I don't want to say well-behaved, but well-behaved and are going to do it automatically will do it. It's not a fail if, let's say, someone comes in my class and one of my students, they're not doing that worksheet anymore. They were on their phone. In today's society, that's a win. He did his whole worksheet for 45 minutes. He used to be on his phone the whole time. I'm down. I got it for 45 minutes. We sitting both here with the winning face. It was a win-win. So some students, I'm celebrating. Some students, you will be able to help them on their path because they're already looking forward. And some students, they don't want to do it in the first place. So you helping them is agitating them. Even sometimes I'm like, come on, what are you doing? And I can see that they getting agitated, and I'm gonna leave you a minute. I'm gonna leave you alone. You need a minute. I'm still gonna come back, but I'm gonna leave you alone. I'm not gonna agitate you. But that's because I know you. You came in kind of sour face. I said good morning. You didn't say nothing. You weren't rude, but you didn't say anything back, and you heard me. Okay, something happened. That's cool. I'm gonna give you a minute. One thing I tell all my students is, everybody didn't come in on the same level, so everybody can't leave on the same level. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense.
You come on the same level, you can't leave on the same level. What we are gonna do is we're gonna take everybody up a few notches.
Come on.
Some of you are gonna go higher than others if you let me. But we're gonna take everybody has to go up a few notches. So I think
basically coming in leaving better than you came in.
Leaving better than you came. But that cannot happen until trust is established. Trust and classroom discipline. If classroom discipline is not established, nobody learns. And let me tell you, it hurts students. It hurts. Students. Sometimes it took me a little minute. I learned classroom management because my class was wild. My class is wild. I mean, I tried. It would be some days I'm like, oh, finally, but it took all of me, and it took yelling and this and threatening. It took all of that. My class had left, and for the most part, they're in groups, honors groups. They all go to the same class, and one of my students left his cell phone, so I looked up where his class was because it was my prep, and I took it to him. And as I'm walking down the hall, I can see them based on where the classroom is. It's the same students. It's quiet as a mouse. They were like a zoo in my classroom. I didn't even get to walk all the way in, and I'm just standing at the door looking like, what is happening? And it's the science teacher. He comes over to me, And I'm like, I didn't know they could be this quiet. And he was like, yup. He said it just like that. Like, yup. And it took me a second. I'm like, then I turned to them and I said, okay. And after that, I was mean for a few weeks. But now I give my kids the eye. Don't, and I can't make it. They'll catch me. I'm already looking at you doing bad. So by the time you look up, it's like, I already caught you. I tell them a lot of stuff. What are you doing? It's rhetorical. Don't answer.
No.
It's rhetorical. Don't answer.
Don't answer. I already see what you're doing. I see it. I've seen
already
it.
see
I've been
what you're
watching you. Last 10 minutes,
But
I've been watching.
last 10 minutes, I've been watching. But there has to be, it can't be serious all the time, too. Okay, now they trust me. So serious.
Right,
It can't be serious all the time either.
right.
It has to be a little bit playful. And I can tell the days that I'm a little bit playful because they'll all gather around my desk afterwards. Like I remember it happened maybe a little bit before Christmas break, and I look up, I said, what's happening? Why are you all right here? We
Right.
just I'm like, class is over.
Class is
Get
over.
out of here. Next, my next group is coming in. So it's a most important thing is out of this whole literacy conversation, parents and teachers. It's important that you know what type of school your child goes to. That's key first. There's no point in you doing all that hard work at home and then it's not being followed through at school. Start at home early, because if you don't, by the time they get first grade, they're already behind. You have to really, really hone in on that 5th and 6th grade. You can start to lose the reins by the time I would say 11th and 12th grade, and you need to so that they can learn to start doing things on their own.
We got 3 comments in the chat room. What's our comments in the chat room? Let's see. We want to thank everybody for joining us. Okay, Lysandra, parents need to work with our teachers. Parents need to work with our teachers.
Yes, way more.
It needs to be a collaborative effort.
Yes. Okay.
I don't know. Are parents coming up to the school anymore? Are parents doing parent teacher? Like, is that a thing?
There is still parent teacher conference. I'm gonna say something, Mike, and it's crazy. Parents technically they can always see their child's grade. A lot of schools have system, I know mine does, where you could check in to see not only your students' Google Classroom, but you can also see their grades, all of their assignments. So a parent can easily say, which is some parents, in their defense, their work hours for parent teacher conference don't always work. Sometimes when we offer it online, she can't stop. If she's working at the plant, she can't stop working this plant to tap. What is her? No. So it's sometimes they can, sometimes they can't, but no, it is not. We just had parent teacher conference, and I usually have about 8 or 9, and I teach 11th and 12th graders. It's about 60, 65 11th graders, maybe between 50 and 60 12th graders. And I had 8 parents.
8 parents?
About between 8 and 10 parents.
Wow. Okay, let's go to our next comment. Michael Jones, get to know them. Yes, we cannot recall them. Make their names.
So you're not gonna put your glasses on again.
I knew you was gonna do that. I knew she was gonna do it.
I mean, we talked about it before the show, so I wouldn't have to do it.
She did. She
get to know them. Yes, she just got to do that every show. We cannot recall them. Make their names part of the worksheet. Invest in them immediately. I like that. And Michael, being a high school, he's an English teacher also, and so he definitely has spent a lot of time working with students. Quiet is not equal to learning. Engagement.
Yes.
I like that, Michael. I like that. Appreciate you, Professor Jones. I got a story I want to share. I had a student at Wayne County Community College, and he went to the University of Michigan, but he wasn't doing anything. Mother brought him back home, and he ended up in my class with 30 other students. And I was teaching over at the East Side campus. I had an 8 o'clock class. And one day he came in my class late, and I said, this will be the last time you will come in my class late. Because I locked my door at 8:15. I give you 15-minute grace. His first 3 papers, of course, I ripped up, told him to rewrite them. And he went home and told his mother. The next day he was in the parking lot greeting me at 7:30 in the morning. Then the break came, and I said, he came from an F to an A. When you get back, you'll have your final exams coming up. He was able to write his paper. He was able to do well because he was focused, because he used to be my class clown. And I said, you bored? I'm gonna give you enough work so you won't have to be bored. All right.
Right.
And we took a group picture before spring break. And I hugged all my students. Mike, I engaged with them. And I said, come back to me safely. I never forget, my husband, Micha, and I were sitting in Bob Evans. And I got a call. And it's from his sister. His mother couldn't even speak. He went to help a friend, and he was set up in a drive-by, and he was killed. His mother said to me, of all his teachers, K through 12, college, and coming back to Wayne County, you were the only professor he talked about. He would tell us, Mom, I got to get out the driveway. Move your car. I got to get to the library. I've got to go. She called me to ask me to speak at the homegoing service. It was packed with all his homeboys and everybody. And I said to them, he earned his A. He earned his A. And I gave them the story. And he worked so hard to learn the APA. He learned how to do footnoting. He learned how to do, yes. And all the classmates were there. And his mother said, you were the one that changed his life. Malissa, I know that God has set you aside for such a time as this to be the one to change lives in these children's lives. And they're going to come back and knock on your door like they're knocking on my door in my 60s, okay? They say to me, thank you. And they will say thank you. And when I stood at that service, I cried because I knew the potential that he had. I knew, but he died helping someone, not knowing he was being set up. But he died helping someone. So I want to say to you, all you parents that are listening, it starts by me saying to Micha, not just sitting at the table, but I'm going to sit down with you at the table. I got to sit down with my children. I need to know what they're learning. And I need to be, I want my teachers to know me. My teachers knew me. I was banned from my daughter's school, by one of the principals, and I couldn't go back. And my husband was the only one could go because I got kind of belligerent, and the principal said, "Oh, you can't come back for a year." I was banned from the school for a year, and I had to apologize. I had to make things right with the teacher, and so even parents have to apologize and we make mistakes because we feel our children are right. And I got it since Micha blasts me all the time. I remember, Malissa, Micha called us and she said, Mom, Dad, this teacher at Oakwood is not.
Let me tell it faster. Yes, I definitely called my parents because I was having issues with my teachers. And they came down and they rectified the situation, and we did not have a situation with that teacher ever again. And I ended up being the only person to pass my exit exam. Sometimes parents are definitely needed and important to come in. Sit down with your children, parents. Sit down with your children, ask questions, ask them about what's going on at school, be engaged with them, show them that you care. We understand that it's a hustle and bustle, but here's the thing. This program is Living to Be Well. And we want you to live to be well with your children as it pertains to education and literacy. Find out if your children can read and write. Find out if they can, and if you can't read and write, you all learn together. That's my close.
Second.
I'm gonna get you again. She handled that. Melissa, all right, we're out of time, but listen, Melissa, wrap it up for us. I like that, Micha. That was very good. Yes, and Melissa, we got in that car and drove to Huntsville, Alabama. We were there like this. And
listen,
we didn't play.
You have to. I've had parents roll up on me, but see, I collect evidence and emails and stuff like that. So roll up here, sis. Roll up here. So you have to, but you need to.
In closing, Melissa, what can you encourage us with today about literacy?
Starting early at the home, that's key, and staying involved in your child's education from K through 12. Again, that 5th, 6th, grades, you have to dig all the way in. Give them the room and the breathing room to figure out who they are. Keep a watch now, but give them that range to that time to figure out who they are, where they fit in that circle, especially by the time they get to high school, because it can be brutal. It can be brutal.
I want to thank you for coming on and being with us on Little Be Well. We look forward to having you again. And I just want to say that how important it is, because we have a lot of, and I don't mean to insult anybody, but we got a lot of educated fools out there. Mm-hmm. And people are not applying what they have learned and comprehending what they're learning. And we have smart, brilliant people who are incarcerated today because they made a mistake. They didn't use what they had wisely. Let me say this. Don't sit back and judge. Let's sit back. Let's get up and let's change. Let's make a change for what is good and for what is right. It takes a village to help a child. It takes a village. And like Micha said, if you are in need of help, parents, let's find the resources that you need so that we can get you moving and you don't have to be embarrassed. You know, a lot of children act out in class because they're embarrassed that they can't do the work. They didn't turn the work in. And so therefore, I'm not going to do the work. So let's work together, Okay, we got a comment over here. I got to put my glasses on. I was on the roll. Let me see. Okay. So he said, let's bring this together. I want to say that literacy saved my life in learning how to read and write and who I am. And I want to say to all of you, it can make a difference. I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin. And as we always say, Malissa and ML6, together, live to
be well.
God bless
Bye,
you.
Everybody.
Bye.
I'm going to get you my